The phrase, the Great Tradition, was first brought forward by the avataric sage and world friend Adida Samraj in the mid-1970s to indicate, quote, the common wisdom inheritance of humankind, unquote. In response to our emerging global culture, the first Western-born avatar to appear in human history affirms it is now time to move beyond all provincial cultural prejudices, to embrace the total collection of the world's wisdom. This includes the most basic knowledge about living a healthy and balanced life, to mental intelligence, to esoteric wisdom, all inherent in the various approaches to human spirituality and mysticism, from shamanism to yoga to meditation to enlightenment, thus including all of the stages of life. Specifically, the Great Tradition was defined by Avatar Adida as, quote, the total inheritance of human cultural, religious, magical, mystical, spiritual, transcendental, and divine paths, philosophies, and testimonies from all the eras and cultures of global humankind, which inheritance has, in the present era of worldwide communication, become the common legacy of humankind, unquote. In response, Adida's 7 Stages of Life model, in addition to Ken Wilber's Spectrum of Consciousness model, explains and discriminates the various levels or stages of human development leading to and including God realization and divine enlightenment by accessing all of the world's spiritual sources as a whole. This book will take you on a tour through Adida's consideration of the world's great tradition of global wisdom, as outlined by the 7 Stages of Life and the Spectrum of Consciousness. Let me introduce this book to you by quickly reviewing the table of contents. The book begins with a prologue and introduction of Plato's cave metaphor, because it relates to the process of enlightenment itself, just as Socrates said. And most importantly, it introduces us to the idea of spiritual heroes, or adepts, who are the ones that come to show us the light instead of watching the shadows dancing on the cave wall. Part 1 begins with the core of the book, the global wisdom of Guru Adepts. It is the Guru who is at the heart of all the world's great religions. Therefore, when we introduce Adida's conception of the great tradition of global humankind and realize its advantages in Chapter 1, we will realize that it is the adept, the realizer, the guru, the Siddha Guru, who it gives the great gift of heart transmission or spirit baptism. This is what all the sacred literature of the world's spiritual scriptures will reveal. What I call the Divine Library in Chapter 2, that will also introduce Adida's The Basket of Tolerance. Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 offer a critique once you understand the entire global tradition of human wisdom, and also, therefore, critiques what Adida calls talking schools, or philosophies, including integral philosophy and pop spirituality, as opposed to the practicing school, which is what really happens in sadhana and satsang, studying under and practicing with a true Siddha Guru. Chapter 5 and Chapter 6, therefore, go on to review this great tradition of satsang sadhana, or what's called Guru Yoga, because that really does constitute our sacred inheritance of global wisdom. Next, in Chapter 7, we will review the perennial philosophy, which is the universal tenets and truths found in all of the world's religions. But this is based upon, actually, the perennial Sophia, or Sophia Perennius, the actual experience of divine enlightenment, which is reviewed in Chapter 8. Chapter 9 reviews the Eastern and Western wisdom traditions, what Adida calls the Omega mind of the West, because it's oriented towards this world, versus the Alpha mind of the East, which is generally oriented to the other world, or the spiritual world. This is then completed with the wisdom of Avatar Adida's way of Adidam, as reviewed in Chapter 10. Part 2 takes us on a grand tour through the great tradition of global wisdom, which is Guru Yoga Satsang. Chapter 11, therefore, orients us to the awakened Guru adepts. Therefore, Part 2 will take us through a brief tour of many of the world's major religions, because it is the adepts that are at the heart and core of all of the world's religions, which is our sacred inheritance and which arises from our own heart, our own consciousness. Now we go on a great tour through many of the world religions, or a brief history, stopping at each of the major religions of East and West. Therefore, we begin in the ancient West with Greece, where the pre-Socratics are actually seen as enlightened adepts and profound yogis, not just proto-scientists. And of course, since we're in the West, we'll review the amazing story between Plato and Aristotle and their influence on all of Western civilization, and how the mysticism of Plato was corrupted or fractured into footnotes, as Ken Wilber points out, therefore losing true philosophy and mysticism in the West. Chapter 13 then goes back to the ancient beginnings of the Abrahamic religions, reviewing Judaism and all of its relationships with its various adepts, from Abraham to Moses to Elijah, Isaiah, David, Solomon, and so on, peaking later with Kabbalah mysticism, and so forth. Chapter 14 reviews Christianity, and of course the great adept Jesus Christ, who is the center of the devotional mysticism of the Christian faith. And then the last Abrahamic religion appears in Chapter 15, where we review Islam and the Prophet Muhammad, as well as many of the famous philosophers and other adepts such as the swirling Sufi mystics, Rumi and Kabir, and the Sikhs and Mani of the Persian Prophet of Light, as well as checking out the Baha'i faith, a later religion in which the unity of all religions is promised. Next, with Chapter 16, we move to the East and review Hinduism, the great root tradition of the earth, where the yoga was first created, and where many of the yogis and gurus that the world knows and the most sacred teachings arose. And India was also where the Buddha was born, which is reviewed in chapter 17. And the great tradition of Buddhism, the turning of the Dharma wheel, and the many sutras given by countless adepts and gurus. This includes Mahayana and Yogacara Buddhism, leading to the emptiness of Zen Buddhism, and the popular Buddhism of the Pure Land Buddha of infinite light. Chapter 18 then goes up in Tibet, where Guru Yoga reigns supreme as Buddhism evolves. We will do a brief tour through many of the ideas and concepts, from samsara to nirvana, from emptiness to fullness, to devotion and universal transmission of the spirit reality. Spreading the wisdom of Buddhism in the enlightened state of consciousness from the east to the west, encircling the entire globe. Chapter 19 reviews the 6 and 7 stages of life from Adida's perspective. Chapter 20 will then focus on Guru Yoga Satsang in Adidam Richuradam, the main church and community of devotees given by Avatar Adida Samraj and available to everyone in the world. Here you will hear about true spirit transmission and spirit baptism as given by a fully realized adept. Now we are ready to wrap up with part 3, reviewing the benefits of Guru Yoga Satsang. As we have reviewed, all of the world's religions honor the adept guru above all others. That is where the scriptures come from. They come from real living human beings, not born out of thin air. And we, as modern people, need to acknowledge that and overcome our fear of guru cults. This book will help guide you through that process. Chapter 21 shows how the guru appears in both the East and the West. And part of the reason we have lost the value of Guru Yoga in the West is through claiming only Jesus was the adept. Whereas, as we have seen, there are many realized spiritual masters throughout human history. Chapter 22 reviews the guru-devotee relationship, including the doubt or the fear of guru cults, but also how it involves the superphysics of enlightenment. And as Adida points out, Guru Yoga Satsang is really about a relationship, not a technique. Chapter 23 reviews how the Guru Adept is an agency for enlightenment. The Guru is a channel to God realization, and this is why we want to choose a Guru. They offer us both practical and spiritual gifts, guiding us in how to live a better life and awakening higher states of consciousness until we can actually commune with the divine reality in the present. Only this, I believe, will establish a new integral age of global cooperation beyond the egoic turmoils of war and dilemma that our present world is saturated with. Chapter 24, then, is the devotee's response to the presence of the Guru. This is how we will gain enlightenment now and forever into the future, by responding to the transmission and divine gift of the genuine Guru. That is known as prasad, or returning the gift to the giver. And as Adida summarizes, the whole point of Guru Yoga and Satsang is to live a happy life in the now, to be happy, always already. This is all there is to realize, because this is our enlightened state, which is our inherent nature. Don't let cults or churches or religions fool you. but be awakened now. And Adida Samaraj, the great avatar of the global community culture, is here to help guide you and shine the brightness into your life and into your wisdom, radiating as the heart, for that is who he has realized and come to share with us all. I hope you enjoy my book, and may you be turned forever to the truth of love and God realization, and to see the wisdom in having a real relationship with a genuine guru adept. And I can recommend no one more highly than Avatar Adida Samraj.